Hey, everyone. Welcome to What Would Dorcy Do? Friday. Happy Good Friday to everyone. I'm Dorcy Pruder, the CEO and founder of the Conscious Co-Parenting Institute and Dorcy Incorporated. I'm excited to be coming to you live for What Would Dorcy Do? And today I really want to talk to you about cleaning up your side of the mirror and what exactly that means. And I'm really talking about your side of the emotional mirror. So as we talk about divorce and co-parenting and custody matters, divorce obviously can be a very difficult and emotional process for everyone involved, especially children. And as parents go through this process, it's really important for you to remember that your children are looking to you to role model how to handle these really challenging situations. Therefore, it's really crucial for you, if you're going through a divorce or you're in a custody battle, or maybe you post-divorce, that you're still having a lot of complications with regards to your relationship with your children. So I really want to talk about cleaning up your side of the emotional mirror and really leading your children by example. And so first, I want to talk about acknowledging and validating your children's feelings. A lot of people talk about this. A lot of mental health providers talk about this, but they really have sort of an inaccurate perspective, because a lot of times when you're dealing with an emotional cutoff, a lot of times children's feelings are, or let me rephrase that. A lot of times targeted or chosen parents, people that are being rejected by their children, believe that their child's feelings aren't valid, because a lot of times children express things that are the opinions of the other parent. And I see a lot of parents get caught up in that narrative. And so they're not validating how their child is feeling. And so children experience all kinds of rain or all kinds of different mixed emotions and feelings that are really brought on by their parents' separation or their divorce. And it could be things like shock, sadness, anger, even relief, if they've noticed that there's a reduction in tension or fighting between their parents. And as a parent, it's essential to acknowledge and validate the emotions that your children are having, rather than just dismissing them or minimizing them because you think it's the other parent. So when you acknowledge how a child is feeling, you show the child that their feelings are essential and worth addressing. And it's also essential to encourage open communication, which allows your child to really express themselves in a positive manner. Now, if you're a mental health provider and you're listening to this, you may be saying, yeah, that's what we're trying to do. But oftentimes we see in mental health where you maybe are doing conjoint or reunification therapy, which isn't a real therapy, but a lot of people are stuck in this place where you're allowing the child to really be elevated in the family hierarchy and lambaste the other parent. That's not appropriate. So the parent should always be the parent, and a child should be able to express what they're feeling, but not in a volatile way where they're somehow elevated in the family hierarchy and now they're on equal footing and they can ridicule and land-based a parent. So I just want to be clear when I'm talking about acknowledging and validating children's feelings, that there's a healthy way to do that. The other thing I think is really critically important in talking about here as you're cleaning up your side of the mirror is taking responsibility for your actions and your emotions. Divorcing parents must take responsibility for how they are acting and reacting and their emotions. And it's vital to clean up your side of the emotional mirror, as children can often sense when their parents are not being genuine or truthful. And so this means being accountable for any hurtful behavior towards your partner or ex-partner, towards your children, and working towards forgiveness and healing. So when you lead by example, parents can teach their child valuable lessons in accountability, forgiveness, and emotional maturity. And this one skill alone can flip a high conflict co-parenting situation right on its head. Even when you're co-parenting with a pathogenic or narcissistic, borderline, whatever, they don't have to be diagnosed co-parent. Sometimes how you're showing up makes matters worse. And so when you can take responsibility and accountability and demonstrate this for your child, you can soften into being the soft place to land for your child. And then, of course, I think it goes without saying, prioritizing your co-parenting and cooperation. Divorcing parents must prioritize co-parenting and cooperation. And oftentimes this gets tossed out the window when you're dealing with complex custody issues and high conflict situations. So this means putting aside your personal differences and really focusing on what is in the best interest of your child. And co-parenting can involve creating a parenting plan that really supports your child and not your needs. So we get stuck sometimes when we're in these co-parenting situations or these high conflict situations of like 50-50, or it's got to look like this, or it's got to be that. And we lose sight of what's most important. And so when you're looking at your custody arrangements or your visitation schedules and your communication guidelines, it's really essential to communicate respectfully with your co-parent and avoid any negative talk about them, obviously in front of your child, and avoid getting emotionally hooked into their narrative. So oftentimes what I see parents do is they get this caustic, rambling email or text message, all these accusations full of emotions and da da da, and they're, personal attack. And then the person that's receiving that responds in like kind. You feel like you have to respond to every false narrative and every emotional rant and all these things. You feel like you have to defend yourself. And I hear parents say all the time, I never speak negatively about the other parent. However, it's not necessarily the words. Sometimes it's the implication or the energy. Children feel and know everything. So when you clean up your side of the emotional mirror, it means cleaning up your story and your limiting beliefs that you have about the other parent and about even yourself unconsciously and how you're showing up. You don't have to respond to everything. I always say comb through the email, find anything that requires a response, respond to that, and move on without emotion. So if you're emotionally healthy and you're emotionally stable, you can role model that for your children. Sometimes they'll come and say, you never respond to the other parent. And you can say, I did respond. Here's the very simple response. I'm responding with the facts. Here's what's happening. So when you think about how you're showing up in your co-parenting relationship, you need to think about showing up with consciousness and emotional responsibility and not reactivity. And some of the most important traits that I see in parents that we work with that are really, really stepping up into the container of being a conscious co-parent. And again, it's not always easy. Matter of fact, it's really hard to be a conscious co-parent. Most of us didn't have the best examples to follow. And these are obviously not skills that you're taught in school. So you either have to educate yourself or you have to learn on the job, which is what most of us do. So while there are many parenting styles and there are many successful parents who share attributes of those different styles, some of the most important things I see conscious co-parents do is they lead by example and they teach their children what they are doing in the highest vibration of unconditional love and leadership. And so great conscious co-parents, they're patient, right? You knew that this would be a difficult challenge when you were going through this divorce or you're going through this divorce and you're realizing that you're co-parenting with a high conflict co-parent. Patience is at the top of the list. Children are messy. They don't listen. Alienated children are exhausting to be around, and they are they'll push all your buttons. They are the masters at pushing all your buttons, especially if the co-parent is guiding them through that. So you need to be patient. And children are also wonderful too. So patience is essential, and learning to take a deep breath and relax can really help more than just your parenting skills. So if you can just disconnect from it for a minute by closing your eyes and taking a deep breath and noticing that it's your button being pushed and that you own that and not taking it out on your child will help you shift the situation. And then a lot of conscious parents have multitasking skills. They're dealing with all kinds of different things, maybe house and kids and work and, the co-parent and court and all of the things. So children constantly pull at your attention from whatever that you're doing, and children that are dealing with this family dynamic are really good at that. So you need to be ninja at being able to manage different things at the same time. And some of the most powerful conscious co-parents that I see who are able to flip this on their head, this family dynamic, if you're experiencing an emotional cutoff, is they're encouraging. They encourage their children, and children learn really quickly to doubt themselves and to worry about the opinions of others in no other area or time of their life than when their parents are going through a divorce and you're managing this really complex relationship. So one of the best ways to combat this is to encourage your kids. With enough encouragement, a child can really become their best self, encouraging them to seek solutions with your guidance. And support, you need to be supportive. So encouragement and support go hand in hand. And children that have supportive and encouraging parents grow up to be relaxed and comfortable. So without your support, the world can be really scary. And you've got to teach your child that there is little to fear about that you're always there and you're encouraging them and supporting them. And a lot of parents, targeted parents or chosen parents, find this difficult because you're spinning in your own stuff. So when you clean up your side of the mirror, that's cleaning up your micro and macro traumas, your stuff, so that you can be that soft place to land by encouraging and being supportive for your child. And you want to encourage critical thinking. And one of the hallmarks of critical thinking is helping raise their intelligence in solving problems. And children provide a unique set of challenges that have to be solved. Children that are dealing with this family dynamic have another set of challenges. And a little brain power can really help your child and you navigate the minefield that co-parenting with a high conflict co-parent can entail. So it's really, really important to teach your child how to have problem solving skills. And there are some things that your child has to solve, and this is where you can hold the space for them and guide them. But if you're spinning in your own stuff, you haven't cleaned up your side of the mirror, you can't be there to support your child and raise their problem solving skill set. And you have to be flexible. Many of the conflict situations that we see, high conflict situations, are because one or both parents aren't flexible. And many of your parenting attempts fail because you're not being flexible. And you have to be flexible enough to have multiple solutions up your sleeve. So when one doesn't work, you can always try something else. And plans are always changing, especially in co-parenting and divorce. So it helps you to go with the flow. That doesn't mean become a doormat. So check yourself. And again, good leadership skills. This might be lost on a lot of people because sometimes parents are like, well, I'm a really, I never talk about the other parent and I'm always leading by example. And the truth is, yes, you are always leading by example. And you might be able to boss your kids around, but they'll resist it and never forget it eventually. So it's more effective to have good leadership skills and only throw your parental weight around when necessary. So in opportunities where you can give your child a healthy choice, it's a good idea to do that. That way you're not running a dictatorship. And oftentimes parents who are dealing with a complex custody situation or conflict, they vacillate between being a doormat, a permissive parent, because they're afraid of not, the children not spending time with them, to being an authoritarian parent. And conscious co-parenting is somewhere in the middle. So finding those opportunities to invoke leadership in the child is really, really important. And then you need to be dependable. Kids feel safe when they have a reliable, dependable parent, and they have to know that you're there for them. How much can your child trust your word? Are you reliable? Do your friends consider you to be reliable and dependable? So what's interesting is sometimes parents that go through a divorce, they're kind of a doormat parent, and then they're trying to be an authoritarian parent. They're trying to find this different place. and after divorce, and the child doesn't know what to expect from you. So they don't know if you're dependable. They don't know if they can rely on you. So finding your footing, cleaning up your side of the mirror, helps your child know that they can depend on you and that you're reliable. And then compassion for your child's needs. In order for your child to develop compassion, you need to develop compassion, and children need to develop and experience compassion, and kids need to understand and need to know what it's like to have understanding and comforting. So can you provide those things? So in other words, stop being defensive and trying to convince your child you're right, which is what we see a lot. Or maybe the other parent is wrong. So maybe you're trying to say that they're wrong, which is just another way of trying to prove you're right. Maybe batting up against whatever the child is saying and being defensive. Remember, the child is half of each of you. And the more you put your child, or the two of you put your child in the middle, which is the hard place for the child to be, the more they feel pulled or split in two. And so compassion means that you have a higher level of understanding. You can be that soft place for your child to land, but you can't get there if you haven't done that for yourself. So if you're still reeling in all of your stuff, it's hard for you to have a compassionate view for your child or have empathy for the child's experience, knowing that the child loves both of you. And they need to develop that. And the only way they can is by witnessing that. So if you are always in that struggle, they're always going to be in the struggle too. Find your sense of humor. Your child will give you plenty of opportunities to laugh, and it would be a shame to allow those moments to go to waste. You'll keep your sanity if you have a great sense of humor. And we see this all the time when kids are bonding or they're spending time with their parent, and they're really being a challenge, and the parent has learned these skills, like through higher purpose parenting, for example, and they've learned to soften and become the soft place to land. Some of the greatest stories we have from our parents is their ability to find that place of humor and almost even poke at some of the funny stuff about themselves and then their child and how this dynamic is. And the kids start giggling because they know it's funny. They're asking you to step up. And your self-awareness is so critical. When you're self-aware, children aren't sure how to act, and it's up to you to role model this. So you'll find your kids react to situations in a way that mimics your reactions and the other parents. They don't know any other way. So it's important for you to be self-aware enough to know whether you're being a good role model or not. And don't lie to yourself. Your kids know. Parenting is one job that requires your utmost effort and attention. And great kids most often have great parents. And being a great parent isn't always easy, but it's easier if you build these attributes, and you can develop these attributes by practicing with determination. So be the best parent that you can be and enjoy the process. Take responsibility for your actions. Seriously, nothing teaches your child more than when their parent takes responsibility. And so if you're really doing the work and you're going in, you take 100% responsibility 100% of the time. And parents, conscious co-parents that create the best co-parenting plans, and they're able to co-parent with the most pathogenic co-parents, are the ones who are vibrating and acting at the highest level of consciousness. And that's the consciousness of unconditional love and compassion. And that really means 100% responsible 100% of the time. Own all of it, yours and theirs, yours, theirs, and the co-parent. You're no longer in the victim mindset then. You're in charge, and there's nothing to fight about. You are free, and in turn, you free your child. So divorce can be really difficult. The emotional process for everyone involved is challenging, especially the children, because they're looking to you and the other parent to regulate. If you're dysregulated and the other parent is dysregulated, the child spins off. If the other parent is dysregulated and you rise up and you are regulated and you are using these skills, you're shifting and cleaning up your side of the mirror, it only takes one. It only takes one. So be the normal range parent. Catch yourself before you wreck yourself. And as parents go through this process, it's essential to remember that children are looking to you as a role model for how to handle these challenging situations. It's crucial for you to clean up your side of the emotional mirror and lead your children by example. When you acknowledge and validate their feelings, when you take personal responsibility for your actions and your emotions, and prioritizing your co-parenting and cooperation with the co-parent, even when they're challenging and not cooperative, you teach your child or your children the valuable lessons of accountability, of forgiveness, and emotional maturity through emotional regulation. So just remember to lead by example helps your children make positive choices. Everyone has the opportunity to lead by example. So you can choose to be a positive role model, a positive example. Your children will follow your lead and make better choices because of you. So being a good example doesn't mean being perfect. No one is perfect and no one makes the right decisions all of the time. So allow yourself to be human and make mistakes. And if you do, take responsibility as soon as possible. This does not mean act like a child and say, sorry, when you don't really mean it. It means saying and showing to your child you will do better and how you're going to do better and do better. Children want you to grow. They know you're not perfect. Children need your leadership, especially when you're going through a high conflict custody battle. Strive to do and be your best, always being stronger and better, continuously working to improve and find great joy in the process. Each day, try to set a better example for your children. And if you're happy with yourself and you're doing the right things and you're avoiding doing the things that don't feel right and that don't make you happy, you can feel joyous because it causes you to radiate that joy out to others and it comes back to you in tenfold. So when others see you happy, they will want to follow that example. So each day, you're an example for your children who cross your path, whether it's via text, via phone, in your presence, on Zoom, however you are communicating with your children. So as a good example of joy and peace, your children really want you to be that way. And they'll appreciate what you have to offer. And they want to be like you because they see the happiness radiating out of you. So no matter what crosses your path, cultivate peace within yourself, show your children how to handle these challenges in a positive way. Challenges can be a good opportunity to demonstrate how they too can learn and grow. So today, be the best that you can be and lead your children with peace and happiness. So if you want to do some self-reflection, ask what makes you leading by a good example. What good examples can you lead for your children? How can you use your own growth to help your children be their best? And how can you lead by example for other people? And then look in, where are you struggling with leading by example and what can you shift within yourself so that you can be a positive role model for your children? So on this Good Friday, I want to thank you so much for showing up. I hope you find peace in so you can have peace out. Happy Good Friday and happy Easter. Let me say one other thing. I believe we have something going on right now. I think my team will put it in the chat. I think we're giving 25% off and access to the Conscious Co-Parenting class if you want to sign up for Higher Purpose Parenting. So my team will put the link in the chat and we hope that you enroll in Higher Purpose Parenting. You'll get Conscious Co-Parenting. So you'll get 2 courses and 25% off this weekend. So I think through Monday. So happy Easter, everyone. Peace in so you can have peace out. Have a great one.